લાગે છે સિદ્ધાચલ દરબાર જાજરમાન લાગે છે રાજા ઋષભદેવ મહેરબાન લાગે છે રાજા ઋષભદેવ મહેરબાન લાગે છે
Maybe we give it another minute. Rupali, do you want to maybe play for a couple of minutes more, or should we start?
Yeah, maybe we can start at 9:05, right?
Yeah, so if you want to just play something, we can play a song.
Okay.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
सिद्धगिरिना शिखरो बोले ओम नमो अरिहंताणम आदिश्वर निधजाओ बोले ओम नमो सिद्धाणम डोंगर चढ़ता यात्री को बोले ओम नमो आयर्याणम रायण पगले दर्शन करता ओम नमो वज्रायाणम आदिश्वर नो मुखड़ो जोता दर्शन करता सौ बोलो नवपदनी महिमा गाओ तो सेठ सुदर्शन नो मन बोले धन्ना जी अणगार बोले शत्रुंजयना शिखरो बोले ओम नमो अरिहंताणम गिरनार जी ने गुफाओं बोले ओम नमो सिद्धाणम अष्टापदना पर्वत बोले ओम नमो आयर्याणम नंदेश्वर निधजाओ बोले ओम नमो वज्रायाणम तारंगाना डुंगरा बोले समेत शिखरना तुमको बोले महा
All right, Jai Jinendra everyone, and welcome to the third day of Paryushan Mahaparva English lecture series. And today we have our own Roopali Jain. She's one of the key pillars of YJP education and has been working behind the scenes on a lot of stuff. And she is going to take us through the topic of Jain, Tapp, and diet. So Roopali, welcome, and I'll pass it to you.
Jai Janendra, Priyank, and Jai Janendra, everyone. Thank you so much, Priyank, for the introduction. So the topic for today is Jain, Tap, and diet. And I feel it's a very important topic as we are celebrating Paryushan. And throughout the discussion, I'll encourage everyone to be very interactive. Whenever I'm asking questions, it would be great that if you can add your answers to the chat so that we can inspire each other, learn from each other, and take this more as a discussion. I'll also be presenting a lot, but yeah, I will encourage everyone to be an active participant here. So just for the full schedule, today is our third session. We have a session on each of the day of Paryushan. So this is the full schedule. Yesterday we had a presentation from Apoorv Pai, who's the chair of IJP, and tomorrow we'll have by Priyank. So I encourage you all to join those as well. So as mentioned, our topic today is Jain, Tapp, and diet. And here is like a brief overview of what we'll be discussing. And part one mainly is about understanding the principle of ahimsa and the concept of jeev, and how the food can impact our karms, and how we can actually shed karms and or actually make some negative karms just by food. We'll also discuss what is forbidden and what is permitted as part of Jain diet. And also briefly, we'll discuss about various types and what is the purpose of Tapp or austerity. And very briefly, we'll discuss about major and modern Tapps. And I have a few questions towards the end, which are mainly a comparison. And I'll also give you like a step-by-step guide towards how you can focus more on a Jain diet. So this is a time for a poll, and I would encourage every one of you to look at your screens because there might be a question which would be there. Manan, if you can please post the poll. So the first question is just to understand in Jainism, which of these is considered a form of hinsa or violence? And our options are hurting someone with harsh words, thinking ill of someone, or accidentally stepping on an ant. What do you guys think would be the right answer? Honestly, for this question, I think you just have to be a good human being, not even be a Jain, to answer this. And I see most of you are already answering it correct, which is the last option, which is all of the above. So yeah, you're actually all right. Anything which involves harsh words or even thinking anything bad about anyone, or even if you're accidentally stepping on an ant, unfortunately, it is a form of hinsa. So whatever we are doing, we have to be very mindful of our day-to-day life, of our actions as well as thoughts, or even anything which we might accidentally do. Okay, I have another question. Manan, do you want to post it?
Sorry, one moment.
No worries. Okay, so my second question to you all is, what is the primary reason of non-violent diet in Jainism? So the first option is for better physical health. Yeah, that's actually one of the great options. And then second, to protect the environment. I'm sure many of you have read various posts of how processed food or how the production of milk products or meat damages the environment. Then third one is to avoid accumulating negative karma. And fourth one is because it's a cultural tradition, most Jains have been raised up like that, and then we ended up following it. Okay, I see a lot of you have already answered. And yeah, your answer is right. The primary reason for nonviolent diet in Jainism is to avoid accumulating negative karma. I think diet is such an important part of everyday life that it can actually help us actually negate the karmas, or even help us accumulate various type of karmas. And as we are in Paryushan, I would also like to ask you at this time of how you actually followed a non-violent diet during Paryushan. If you have any examples, maybe you can share it in the chat. Now would be a good time to actually talk about it. If you actually practiced any of the taps or anything which you tried to avoid, so that you feel that, oh, I'm actually practicing something non-violent actively during Paryushan? Do you guys want to share it on chat? Okay, so we have one of the answers, which is no root vegetables. Avoid vegetables. Okay, I'm assuming a lot of you are following a very strict diet during Paryushan. Okay, maybe we can talk about it a little more. Okay, we have Kalpesh who's saying doing ekasana to reduce the food intake, not to eat green veggies and roots. I think these are really great options. So actually, let's just dive in a little bit more. Yeah, trying my best not to eat chimicant. Okay, let's keep going. So before I actually go in on what is permitted and what is not permitted, just want to minimize this, sorry. So the foundation of Jain Dharma, as all of us know, is Ahimsa Paramo Dharma. So anything which we are doing, whether it's a physical act or our thoughts, we have to make sure that we have compassion towards all living beings. Every living being has a jeev inside them, and they have a right to live a life without fear. So if there is any animal or if there is anyone whom you think is less of you, they do still have a right to actually live without fear. So we should always have compassion towards all living beings. Then the second thing which we should always try to do is to minimize harm, which also ties up when we go to the next slide of how a jimikan or how something which has roots causes a lot of harm because it has it is anantakaya, and a lot of souls are actually destroyed when we actually pull out one of the rooted vegetables. Then the other one is karmic purity, that we should try and follow a non-violent diet. I'm sorry, I think there's someone who's actually drawing on the screen. Not sure why. Can we deactivate it, Manan?
I think they're doing annotation, and I don't know if there's a way to stop someone from annotating. That's weird.
Okay. Okay, maybe it's
Someone
okay.
who's
We
the
can keep
admin,
going.
Ashwita, or anyone who's on there.
Yes, I'm taking a
Disable
look
the
into
white
it.
line.
Just give me a moment. In the meantime, you can continue, and I'll try and make it go there. Yeah.
Okay, so basically, like there are two types of food which I've already mentioned. There are food which binds karma, which we also call as tamasic food. And then there is food which involves very little form of ahimsa, which is also known as sattvic food. So I can give some examples in which are very much like evident, but like high ahimsa foods which are meat, like for anything which involves consumption of meat or roots or honey. And then we have food which we can consume out of carelessness, which is like unfiltered water or uninspected processed food, because we really don't know what the source of that food is. So that is also under carelessness, and it binds karma. And then there is tamasic food, which is like onions, garlics, and alcohol. And they basically cause a lot of dulling of our senses. So why high hinsa food involves roots is very critical, because if you see in terms of the priority, roots and honey fall into the highest category of hinsa, which is violence, even more compared to onions and garlics. So that's why a lot of you had already posted when I was asking what you are avoiding these days. And a lot of you said vegetables, and specifically rooted vegetables. Then there are like different foods which are low, which cause low hinsa in their harvesting, as well as while you make them, there is very little hinsa. So which involves grains, legumes, and also like there is a big culture of like sattvic food these days, which is make your own food so that it's fresh. You are eating it as you're just cooking it. So that's like minimally processed food, and you know where it is actually sourced from. So you're actually avoiding any carelessness. You're being very careful of what you're eating. And even while preparing it, you're being very mindful of how it is being prepared. Then there's also also an aspect of mindful consumption in which whenever you are eating something, you're actually showing a lot of gratitude that, wow, I created some food which is so pure, I'm eating it, and it's being very, very sattvic. And we are also following some vows, like a lot of you had posted, we are not eating vegetables, or we are eating just one diet. We are just taking one meal a day, which is like taking vows while you're actually doing Paryushan. So let's check, because a lot of you said that root vegetables are something which you're avoiding during Paryushan, that why are we actually not eating it? Like, what are the various reasons? So Manan, if you want to put a post. So why are potatoes and other rooted vegetables forbidden in Jain diet? Harvesting them kills the entire plant and infinite souls. They are not mentioned in ancient scriptures. They are difficult to digest, or they're just unhealthy and lack nutrients. Okay, I see a lot of you are picking harvesting them kills the entire plant and infinite souls. Okay, which is actually right. Like if you look at any of the vegetables which I have added the photo of on my screen, you see there is a lot of soil and the entire plant has been uprooted. So that means that you're killing the entire soul of that plant, and along with it, because under the soil there is a full ecosystem. So when you're taking out any plant, a lot of souls which are beside it are also getting disturbed. And even inside, and not just that, even inside a potato or a radish or a carrot, if you put it at home for like a few days, you'll see that a lot of roots will start coming out. What it actually means is that it has some microbes inside that actual potato or any other rooted vegetable, which are now coming out. So even if you cook it, or you're actually destroying the souls of those microbes as well. So that's why we say that these have infinite souls in them, and we should try and avoid them. And that's why rooted vegetables are among the topmost, like among one of the main diet principles which we follow in Jainism. Kalpesh, do you want to add anything to it if I missed for the rooted vegetables?
Yeah, I can just add one quick point. So basically, Anant Kai means that Anant is like infinite and Kai means body. So there are basically Nigod jeeves in these kind of root vegetables. So these are basically they have one body, but one body is shared by infinite living beings. That's why it is called Anant Kai. And the in our Jain Shastras, to the extent it is mentioned that if you look at the surface area of a tip of a needle, so the tip of a needle, if you look at the surface area, it's so small, so tiny. But in that much amount of surface area, there are infinite one-sensed organisms or these Nicojeeves. So basically, just imagine how many living beings would be there in one potato, basically. So if we, eat that one potato, obviously, these many infinite living organisms gets hurt, they get killed. So that is the amount of INSA increases considerably. So that is why we avoid these kind of root vegetables from the Jain perspective.
Wow, thank you, Kalpesh. I was also reading about it before, and it seems like even science has suggested that these root vegetables have a lot of microbes in them. So definitely, yeah, Jainism talks about extremes in the root vegetables, but even the science has started supporting it. So we can like say for sure that they have a lot of microbial organisms inside them. Okay, let's go to the next question. This one is also interesting because honey is also one of the topmost items which a Jain diet asks you to be restricted in. So what are the primary reasons to avoid honey? One is like it's very high in sugar, and which is true. Then the second one is it causes allergies in some people, also partly true. Then process of harvesting it involves violence to bees. And the fourth option which we have is it's technically an animal product. Okay, so I see a lot of you are answering. The process of harvesting it involves violence to bees, which is correct. So when honey is actually produced, like how the way that these bees collect honey is that it's actually their food. And a lot of times, like although there are a lot of good like the organic honeys which are produced these days, they produce very responsibly. But if there is a regular harvest of honey, then it involves like we are taking away their food which they have actually brought in for some of the bees which are pregnant, or for actually some of the eggs. So that's why if we are eating their food, it actually causes a lot of trouble to their ecosystem, and that's why we should really avoid eating honey as much as possible. But Kalpesh, do you want to add anything to it for bees or for honey? Sorry.
Yeah, I think I think even other reasons. So basically, there are several reasons, and I think there are more detailed reasons which I also don't have on the top of my head right now. But basically, in a way, we are kind of stealing or snatching away the food of these honeybees because they fly, a lot of distance to collect the nectar and then they deposit it in their honeycomb. So, how would we feel if someone is kind of stealing away or snatching away our food, right? So that's there. And then, as you mentioned, the way the honey is harvested, there's hints over there. There are also other reasons. Basically, what happens is that the nectar from the flower, it actually is mixed with the saliva of the honeybees when they deposit it. And then, that kind of creates a medium for a lot of other living organisms to grow within the honey itself. So that also, there's hints involved at that level as well. So there are multiple reasons.
You have a couple questions in the chat, by the way, about mushrooms and ginger and a few other things.
Okay. So boiling water also kills microbes. So why is that allowed? Kalpesh, I'll direct these questions to you because you might have like more scientific and reasons which are,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll try to chime in at a very basic level. So basically, water is a medium for living beings to uh, take birth. And but generally the water that we have, which is not boiled, it kind of remains an active medium for continuously the jalkai jeev or the apkai jeev to take birth. So basically, these apkai jeevs take birth in the this kind of water continuously. What happens is that when we actually boil the water, yes, it is true that the jeeves present in the water at that time, they do get killed. But at the same time, boiling the water renders the water kind of an inactive medium for the life to grow for a certain period of time. So because of that, when we boil the water and then we cool it down up to a certain hours, that water becomes an inactive medium in the sense that it does not facilitate the growth of these new jalkai jeeves. And because of that, the water, the overall hinsa, when you consume this water for those certain number of hours, it's actually reduced considerably. So that is the reason why we encourage as Jains to boil the water and drink it to reduce the amount of hinsa overall.
Wow, thanks, Kalpesh. I didn't know about the fact that once the water is boiled, like the reason is that it really cannot have any more microbes in it, right? Like we have stopped that cycle after boiling it. Is
Correct.
that?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Thank you. And we do have another question, which is it similar to mushrooms? Oh, this poll is for later, Manan. Sorry. I was
Oh, no
just
worries.
reading through the chat questions.
Okay,
We can save it for later.
sure.
Kapish, do you want to tell us about mushrooms too?
I don't have much information about that. I think mushroom
Okay.
is considered a fungi, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And I think fungi is probably I don't know how many sensed organism it is considered, and I don't know if Nigod jeeves are also present in mushroom. So I'm not fully sure, but yeah, as Jain's, I think at least I personally definitely avoid mushroom just because I'm not sure like whether it's what is the amount of inside involved.
So if I may, I can add something there. I
course.
think my understanding about fungi in general is that they are kind of a different category compared to herbivores, omnivores, carnivores, and they do prey on a lot of other living things in order to get their nutrients and to live. And I think in that process, it's supposed to be said that they harbor so many microorganisms because of that, and they harbor so much of just like they also grow in very unhygienic environments or something. So like that's another reason.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Maybe the next time we have more information on mushrooms, that's a great question, but thank you. Okay, let's continue with the presentation. So this is more about what is forbidden and why, although we have discussed this quite a lot by now, but like we know if the reason like one of the direct if the reason involves direct violence to a five sense beings, then this is like completely something which is forbidden in Jain diet. So definitely meat, fish, eggs, honey. And then the second level is like something which is Anantakai, which has infinite life bodies, because like Kalpesh already mentioned, something which contains infinite souls, which includes a lot of root vegetables. Then the third category is Vigait, food that excite passion, which involves butter, yogurt, sugar, fried food, even alcohol, because they cloud the mind and they actually hinder self-control. And then also there are restrictions, or it is advisable as per a Jain diet to avoid multi-seeded fruits, which involves figs, watermelons, or even guava, because there is a high concentration of life in them. Like they have a lot of seeds which can actually generate life. So as per the Jain diet, like a lot of you'll see Jains will avoid figs or watermelon because of that reason, or even guava. So since a lot of items are restricted, let's discuss what is permitted. So I added this image which actually shows that this is a Jain thali, and you can actually see there are close to like 30 items. So the intent of this presentation is not just to say, oh my God, like Jainism literally doesn't allow me to eat anything. But there is actually a lot of variety in Jain food, which you can cook. It's just that active or fresh cooking is encouraged. And also, like you see, there are a lot of fruits, a lot of vegetables, legumes, seeds, and also like nuts, which are permitted. So I encourage a lot of you. There are a lot of food bloggers who are posting a lot of Jain recipes these days, especially since it's Paryushan time. Recently, I saw like someone posted a recipe of Jain vada pav. I found that very interesting. So let's see what the guiding principle is. Like the thing is, you have to be mindful of eating something which involves the least killing of plant. So that's why you have like a tree which bears fruits. It would be great that you can eat those fruits instead of eating the entire tree, right? So that is that is one of the major concept, because then you're not eating an entire soul. You're eating one of the component of that tree, which actually decomposes if you don't eat it. So that is like one of the, if you eat fruits and vegetables which are born on a tree, then that's great. Then other examples is like wheat, rice, oats, or other vegetables are like, I know a lot of people don't eat cauliflower as well, but yeah, it is above ground. So cauliflower, peas, squash, or even nuts and seeds. Like there is plenty of items which you can eat, and you will never be short of food if you actually avoid the food which is not permitted. So since it's Paryushan, I think if anyone has any suggestions on great recipes which they have been cooking, because I'm assuming not all of you are actually doing a lot of fasting. Even even in Ekasna, we end up eating sometimes a lot. So it would be great to share recipes with everyone who has joined who has joined with us. Okay, so as we switch gear, let's talk about Tapp a little bit. And Manan, maybe you can post the poll now. So my question to you is, what is the main purpose of Tapp? Is it to punish the body for past sins? Or is it to lose weight quickly? Or is it to purify the soul by shedding karmas? Or is it just to impress the community? So a lot of you, I'm surprised, no one is picking to lose weight quickly. Okay, a lot of you have answered, and yeah, you're right. Like in Jainism, one of the foundation for taps or taking vows or pachkans is to purify the soul by shedding karmas. Because if we are following a certain rule, then we are basically following some form of discipline, and that enables us to purify the soul by shedding karmas. Okay, so okay, most of you answered it right. Let's go to the next question. Manu, do you want to put the next question? Okay, so which one of these is considered an internal tap? Fasting for a day, or eating less than you're hungry for, studying religious scriptures, or giving up your favorite food? Okay, since this is Paryushan, I encourage someone to actually maybe tell us the answer and give us an understanding of what they believe is a form of internal or abhyantar tap among these. Is there anyone who would like to volunteer? Even if you're not following any of these, anything which you want to tell us about, maybe Shikha, I think you want to tell us.
Sure. I think my understanding of an internal tap is that you are looking inward and you're reflecting. And so I thought that studying religious scriptures would mean that you're kind of reflecting on our principles and a lot of aspects of Jainism, whereas the other three are there, but I feel like the number C felt like I was, looking inward or, reflecting.
Yeah, and like, which is, so you're right, like studying religious scriptures, or if we talk in literal terms, it's also called swadhyay, right? So swadhyay is one of the main forms of internal or abhyantar tap, in which we look inside. It's more about the cleansing of soul, and instead of just doing fasting, which is more focused on food, right? Okay, so let's talk about different forms of tap now. And like most of you might know, there are two forms of taps. One is the bahya tap, and the other one is abhyantar tap. Bahya tap is like external austerities. So minimize this. So which, like, a lot of it is mainly based on how you can abstain from a lot of food items or renouncing taste. Like, I'll just read through this. Like, one of them is fasting, anshan, which involves, like, there are various types of fasting, which we will discuss later. Then, or eating less than what you're actually hungry. It's like, okay, I'll maintain some sort of discipline. I'll eat maybe 70% of what I'm actually hungry for. Then limiting items, like I know some of the people follow a diet during Paryushan when they say, okay, I'll eat 10 items in a day. And honestly, if you start 10 items, because if you even start counting spices in 10 items, that list actually fills up very soon. But it's also one of the form of bahya tap, which is the external austerity. Then some people actually abstain from taking any rus, which is like sugar, or salt, which is like renouncing taste. And if you actually do it for 7-8 days, it ends up being pretty tough. But yeah, it's form of a bahya tap. Then the other one is solitude, or which is also known as Vivikta Shayasan. And it's about like sitting in ideal sitting by yourself and being in solitude. Like, I don't know, Kalpesh, do you want to explain that one a little bit? I'm struggling. Just the
Yeah,
solitude.
yeah, solitude. I think, yeah, even I'll have to check on this one. I think it's, yeah, even I'll have to check on this one. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. No worries. I think and then the last one, which is in external austerities, is about physical endurance, which is like, which talks about your physical well-being. Like, if you go to the temple, a lot of women would be like, oh, we won't apply lipstick or we won't do any makeup. It's about maintaining a very simple form of living, and which is like, again, form of external austerities. Then there are different internal austerities, which, like, one of them, which we all already spoke about, is Swadhyay. Then it's like Prashchit, which is like going to temple or going to someone whom you consider your leader or someone whom you go for guidance, and just accepting any of the mistakes which you have done. Then the other one is Vinay, which is like showing humility towards anyone or everyone whom you meet or you talk, or even in office, you show a lot of humility. Even if you know someone is not doing as well, still be very kind to them. Then the other one is selfless service. It's like a lot of like, I think one of the foundation of young Jain professionals and Jaina is volunteering. So it's like there's no interest, you're just giving your service. And then one of them is actually detachment. It's like, which is also one of the major foundations, which we also sometimes call as pratigre, in which we try to detach ourselves from anything which we don't need. So sometimes you'll be like, okay, maybe I'll just keep 30 dresses, which is actually a lot. But then when you count in your wardrobe, there are 50. But then you decide, okay, so now I have to give up 20 of my dresses. So that's also one of the form of pratigre or vyutsarg. Then the other one is meditation, in which you maybe go to a temple or even at your home, you do some sort of meditation, you just look inside and sit in quiet and focus on something which you'd find very meaningful. Okay. Then I'm like, in here, I'm just talking about different type of taps, and I think it's a great chance for anyone to actually tell us what they are doing as part of this Paryushan. If anyone is doing Navkarsi, they can put that, which is like eating only after 48 minutes post sunrise. Then if anyone is doing Chavihar, which is eating before sunset, you can put that. Then if anyone is doing Vyasana or Ekasana, which is either like Vyasana is like 2 meals a day, Ekasana is 1 meal a day. And I just want to mention this, that a lot of times we say, oh, we are doing Vyasana, but we are taking water throughout the day. But as per Jainism, if you're doing Vyasana, you only sit once, or in Vyasana, you sit twice, and that's when you eat and drink. And then you sit the second time. So if you're drinking water, it actually might not be counting towards Vyasana or Ekasana. But as kids, I guess most of us have done that. Then you'll see in the temple, a lot of people are doing ayambil, which is 1 meal, and they don't take any oil, sugar, salt, dairy, or spices. And the other one is upvas, like in which there is no food which is taken for the entire day. And then there is chart, which is like a 2 or 3 days series of fasts. And then also in Jainism, you'll see this more common in people who are in their later years of life, which is Salekna, which is voluntary or holy fast, which is done at the end of life. Till someone dies, they do not eat anything. So that are like different type of taps. And as you can see, like these are all external taps. None of them is internal. And Kalpesh, is there anything which you want to add to this?
Yeah, I think on the previous slide, I think it's worth noting that basically you covered those six
This one?
Bahya Tap. Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, prior to that. So basically, yes, prior to this also. So you have these 6 Bahya Taps, and then after this, there are 6 Abhyantar Taps. So Bahya Taps are basically those physical or external taps, and then the Abhyantar Taps are those mental, internal or mental taps. So, these 6 and the other 6, so total 12 taps, these are actually in the order. They are in a particular sequence. So what the sequence signifies is that the second is actually considered more powerful than the first. The third is considered more powerful than the second, and so on. So uh, the uh, Abhyantar Tap or the mental tap, they are actually more powerful than the physical taps, basically. And one interesting fact is that if you go back to the Bahya taps, so you can see that fasting is Anshans. That is the number one. But then the number two, at the second number, is the eating less. So Unodari, if you are eating less, that's actually more powerful or more intense than doing Anshan. And the reason why that is the case is because when you eat a little, right? So you have more craving to eat more, and then you're still controlling yourself, right? But if you're fasting, you know that you're not going to eat anything at all. So that way, eating less unodari is actually more powerful or more intense as compared to anshan. So I just wanted to add that point.
Okay. Wow. Thank you. So if we go for the sequence, then you mean like meditation is like the most powerful of all of these?
Yes, exactly. Meditation is considered most powerful of all of these. So, once we like our Muni Raj, they do that highest level of the, because meditation is when, that is what kind of leads the human being to the higher gunstan. So when they are meditating, that is when they are able to go to the highest, the higher gunstan, basically. So that gunstan is basically the spiritual level. So yes, meditation is the most powerful. And I'll be talking about the Swadhyay Tap a little bit more on the Sunday session. So don't want to
Yeah.
take the time
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think at this time, like I want to invite anyone who want to share what they are doing in terms of internal or external TAP. It would be great to hear about someone's experience on how they are actually intensifying it as they are growing up and how different they are doing it than what they were doing at when they were a kid. Is there anyone who would like to share their story?
Actually, Jain is doing free of class. Maybe she can share.
Sorry?
Zeal Doshi is doing free of class.
Yeah, hi. I am doing my third upvas, so I would say Attam. Like the first day I did Chovyar, and then now I'm doing the water one. Um, so basically, I think as a kid, I used to just do the first and last day, and I wasn't able to like continuously do hold up a fast, so I would switch into a Kashnu. And now it's much, easier because I've been doing it for a while. And I think I'm a lot more mindful now than I was as a kid, because as a kid, you just saw people doing it, which is why you did it. But now it's more so that I want to be able to connect more to internally. Um, so I think that counts as an internal austerity, right?
Yeah, definitely. Wow, Zeal. Thank you so much for sharing. And so, do you want to tell us if you are also working while you are doing this fasting?
I'm working from home.
Wow, that's great. Wow, that's so inspiring. And I don't want to force any wow on anyone, but I think it also like is like Zeal's story, which can actually inspire us. She's working and she's actually doing a fast, which is great.
Thank you.
Rashmi Ben Shah is doing Attam. Rashmi Ben.
Hmm. Wow. Yeah, even at JSOT, I see so many people doing Atham, and then like I have attended Parna of a few of them. It's a great achievement, and it's very inspiring to see people do that. I haven't done that myself, so feel free to post anything which you are doing. Like I think Chauvihar and Navkarsi are among the easiest ones, which I would encourage a lot of you to follow. Okay, let's keep going. So I'm actually almost towards the end of my session. Like there are different types of fasts which you'll see a lot of youngsters are following, and also you'll see on social media that there are people who are encouraging these types of fasts. So there is a month-long fast which they do, in which they only take boiled water for 30 days. I'm not sure if we have anyone who has done that. It would be great if you can actually tell us about your experience. And then there's also like Siddhi Tapp, which is done for like 44 day sequence, which is altering fasts and ekasana. And then there is like Vardhaman Tapp, in which there is like they actually increase the number of fasts in every cycle. Like they'll do one and then they'll take a break, then they'll do two, and eventually like they'll do Oli, which is like a 9-day cycle of Ayambil, in which they like I did explain about Ayambil, in which you don't take sugar, oil, any ras, any spices. So, and that also you take just once a day. Is there anyone amongst us who has any experience in this and they want to share with us? Okay, we have someone who did who's done 3 ekasanas. Okay. Purvi, do you want to share your experience of the Ayambil Oli with us?
Yeah, actually, I was fortunate enough to live in New York, where they actually have many people who do the entire Oli together. And my time, having company, it definitely helps also. But I felt very, my body felt great having done the amils, and I definitely did feel pure. I don't know how to explain it. Um, but it was a very good experience for me. And
Wow.
I try to do myself, I usually when Ambil Oli comes around, I try to do at least one Ambil during that myself. But I'm not familiar with cooking many, different types of Ambil foods. So that's why. So, but yeah, it- it's just a very good experience. And actually, there are actually many kriyas and rituals that go along with the Ambil Ori, like doing a certain number of kamasanas for each day of the Oli, and
Yeah.
different Jaitan things. So it was a good experience to have my parents be able to teach me that growing up.
Oh, that's great. Anumodna to you, Purvi, and thanks so much for sharing with us. I think a lot of times if we go to the temple, and it's inspiring to see so many people doing it, especially at JSOT in Toronto. On the weekends, like if you go, it feels like, wow, we are somewhere else. There are so many people following so many restrictions, and actually a lot of people in JSOT do Oli. And I think the having a set of similar mindset of people and having actually someone cook something for you in that state of mind is also very helpful to actually finish it successfully. So Purvi, thanks so much for sharing with us that. Okay, I do have like just 2 more questions which are like not exactly related to Jainism, but it's like comparison of so yeah, Manan, which religious diet has most rules similar to Jain diet regarding plant-based foods? So yeah, definitely we all know it's not Islam or Judaism, then Hinduism. Yeah, so you'll see a lot of people are picking Hinduism. I like that some of you are picking none of the above. It's interesting. Apurva, do you want to share your response with everyone?
Uh, Yeah, I think Sattvic or Hinduism would be related, I find, because they have also a lot of restrictions around what type of food they like to have. Purely vegetarian, I find. So Sattvic.
Yeah, that's my safest answer as well, unless Kalpesh corrects me. I don't know. Kalpesh, that's right? Sattvic is the closest food which we have. I know in Sattvic they don't have restrictions on the rooted vegetables as much. I know they ask to avoid garlic and onion more than potato. That's one of the key differences, right?
Yeah. So I think basically, the first thing is that, the Hindu diet, basically, at least those who follow it fairly strictly, they also don't eat non-vegetarian. So that's at least, the basic commonality between Jainism and Hinduism. And then I think the Sattvic food, so the concept, the reason why they avoid garlic and onion, as they treat that as tamsi food, and that they don't consider that as sattvic, is because I think someone also asked that question in the chat, I believe. So there is a correlation between the what you eat and the impact it has on your thoughts, and your ability to control your senses. So the Hindu religion basically considers these items like onion and garlic as tamsi food. And tamsi is basically what it has is it kind of impacts your ability to control your own thoughts. It impacts your ability to control your anger, and those kind of things. So that is the reason why they discourage it. They don't understand. I mean, they don't believe in the concept, or they don't have that concept of Anant Kai as the way we have it in Jainism. So the reason why they discourage that is different, but nevertheless, they do discourage eating onion and garlic. Whereas from the Jain perspective, the reason is a little bit different. Like Tamsi is still, I mean, it's there. Jainism accepts that, I believe. But the main reason is the amount of Hinsa or the Anantkai living beings that are there. So that's basically the difference that way.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that. I do have another question. Manan, do you want to bring that up? Okay, this one is more generic. What is the key difference between Jain and other religious fasts? Like, what is the basic foundational difference between Jain fasts and other religious fasts? So one of them is like obedience to God, or it's like a communal celebration, or sometimes they're fasting because of some historical events. And then the last one is shedding karmic particles. So I see a lot of you are picking shedding karmic particles. Since this is like the last question of this session, and if all of you would have picked that, I think this session would have been a success, because that is the right answer. Like basically Jainism diet, the diet in Jainism is all surrounding about shedding the karmic particles or reducing our karmic impact, if you call. So because like we've spoken about it multiple times, like food is one of the top items which we actually put in our body, and that's why a lot of karma is associated with food as per Jainism. This also brings me to the end of my session. Like there is like a guide which I have here, in which you can like adopt a Jain diet, which is like the first is definitely eliminating meat, fish, and eggs. And like that is the first step, which like as Jains, you can also say that that's part of our responsibility or duty. Then the second one is like removing any kandmul or anything which is anantakaya, which is basically underground roots. And then also like renouncing anything which has vigai, which is like passion exciting food, which we talked about, like any sort of fermented food or alcohol or anything which is excessively spicy or fried. And then like stopping Ratri Bhojan, which is like Chaubihar. And then the fifth one is like adopting daily pachkans, which is maybe every day you restrict eating something. And you'll notice, even if it's like, even if you restrict yourself from, let's say, one vegetable, you'll be surprised how much restricted you will feel from that. So I encourage all of you to like look at this and then try and follow any of them. And at this time, like I do have a couple of things which I would which are more like takeaways for you all. Like I really want to thank all of you for participating. We do have a session of Q&A at this time, but honestly, this is Paryushan, and I really encourage all of you. We have like 51 of us here, that it's almost 10. So if tonight we take a vow that we will not drink water after 10:15, that would be great. I encourage you, again, this is not something which I'm really asking you to do, but just some small machkans. Then there's a weekend which is coming ahead of us. If you can actually avoid eating potatoes, this is the first and last weekend of this Paryushan. So I really want to encourage you not to eat potatoes this weekend. And then again, it's a weekend. I encourage you to do Chauvihar, which is not eating or drinking anything after sunset. And really, if you can follow these, I think like we would consider this event a big success. And at this time, like also want to open the chat for any questions which you might have. Okay, let's see.
Great work, Roopali. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so what are the suggested books for kids to learn Jainism? I think I'll pass it to Kalpesh because he runs the kids classes, the Jain Pathshala.
Yeah, I mean, I can suggest, the books that I'm aware of. So there is basically a very systematic syllabus that has been, framed. I mean, obviously, there are different sects that follows different books and all the stuff, but the books that we follow, for as part of our Pathshala. So there is the Balbodh 1, the Balbodh 2, and Balbodh 3. So the PDF version of this is available online. But if anyone wants it, if they're not able to find it, you can definitely reach out to me, or I think Rupali will also be able to share it with you. So these Balbodh 1, Balbodh 2, Balbodh 3, these are having specific chapters, and the basic concepts of Jainism are very nicely explained. After Balbodh 1, 2, and 3, I think then there is Vitrag Vigyan. Again, I think Vitrag Vigyan, I think, is part 1 and part 2. And then after that, there is Tattvagyan Pathmala. So these are basically these books are basically meant for kids, so all the basic concepts of Jainism are very nicely explained in this, and it's a very structured course, so you can move forward and understand these concepts in a systematic way, one by one. So I would, yeah, I think that's the recommendation I have.
Okay, thank you, Kalpesh. I think we can also post it as, like when we share the recorded video, we'll share that response because that was definitely a lot of information. I think one of a very interesting question which we have is, why can't we eat eggs, especially since they are unfertilized? Isn't it like eating a fruit? And Priyank, do you want to answer that question?
No, actually, I don't think I'm equipped well enough
Okay,
to answer that one.
no worries. I think we'll direct it to Kalpesh.
Kalpesh, yeah.
Yeah, I had this question. I was trying to think. I was thinking about it, like, I probably spend some time and do some research on it, but unfortunately, I have not gotten to it yet. But one thing is for sure, that um, obviously, so the egg, right? That it can be fertilized or it can be non-fertilized. I think my understanding is that the egg that's available in the market is basically the non-fertilized egg. But my understanding is that the eggs also, even if it is not fertilized, I think it has some jeeves in it, or it kind of acts as a medium for other jeeves to, take birth. I'm not fully sure about it, but nevertheless, whatever the reason is, right? I don't think there is any ambiguity in Jainism about it. Like both Shwetambar and Digambar, they accept the fact that eggs is, it's considered abhakshya. It's not, advised or, recommended to be consumed. So, irrespective of that, like even though we may not know the reason at this point, and I'm sure there is some explanation in our Jainism, the Jain Shastras, it says that we may not be aware of it right now, or we may, if we don't have anyone in this call who can answer it, but I think there should be some explanation about it. But irrespective of that, at least, we should accept the fact that, Jainism does encourage, or, rather I should say
Yeah.
discourages us to from eating eggs. So I think that's something we should definitely follow.
Yeah, and just one small thing I'd add is that the reason why also we don't know is that because this question was never asked or we never even gave it a thought because it was by default considered that this is like taboo. So, but I understand where the question is coming from. But
Yeah,
I'm
we have
also excited.
Sorry, go ahead, Priyank.
No, I was going to check Rupali because we are now at time and I'm
Yeah.
very excited about how much we have on the chat. I'm not sure we'll be able to
Yeah.
go through.
I
Yeah.
think we can collect these questions and send them to you too, to both you and Kalpish Bhai. And I think it would be great to get some answers and we could probably like send them out or something if that would be, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Or
Um,
Priyank, if you want to do a follow-up session at some point later down the line
yeah,
and
no,
just
we will be
your
continuing to
session.
do such sessions, and we're also starting an initiative called Swadhyay Club very soon, which will involve one is to one connections and a lot of these things you can discuss with who you get paired with. So all of those initiatives will start rolling out soon. But yeah, super exciting. But Rupali, your call if you want to continue with a few questions.
I think it's fine, like, because we have another session which Kalpesh will be doing, I think, in 2 days. And then we have sessions every day. And I also want to give time to people who want to take the bachkan of what I told them, not drinking water after 10:15. So I want to wrap this up at this time, but I really want to thank everyone who joined our session today. And if I gave any knowledge which doesn't align with Jainism, honestly, I tried my best. But Michami Dukadam for anything which might not align with you. Sorry about that.
Great, great, Rupali. This was a super informative session. Thanks a lot. And yeah, it was really great. And Kalpesh Bhai, really helpful to have you add all the insights. All right, amazing. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye, Jai Chinendra.